Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Fulfillment Project. My guest today has built 3 companies, all acquired by publicly traded firms. He's run Ironman triathlons. He's broken his back, yet still he shows up every week to help leaders stop surviving and start actually living. He's a leadership coach, a podcaster, a writer, and honestly, probably the most fun person in the room talking about the serious stuff. Jeff Matlow, welcome to the show.
I am ecstatic to be here. I love this podcast. So it's great to meet you and an honor to be here.
Jeff, thank you so much. We've got so much ground to cover. You're a prolific writer, a prolific podcaster. And so I'm just going to start with a lightning round to give our audience a well-rounded view of your thoughts on things. And then we'll circle back and dive deeper in on the long form podcast. How's that sound?
Sounds great.
True or false? Most people have no idea what actually fulfills them, and that's the real problem.
Both true and false. Will the judges accept that answer?
I love when people give answers I'm not expecting. Yes, the judges accept.
Well, I would say then true. A lot of people, not everybody, but a lot of people don't fully understand what fulfills them. And false in the sense that I don't think that's the whole problem. Like,
Ooh.
there are a lot of problems that are playing around. I'm sure we're going to get into them because whatever question you ask me, I always get into them. So let's go to the next lightning round and then we'll get into it later.
Yeah. What's one thing successful people do before 8 a.m. that most people don't?
Plan their day.
Oh, you can tell the real professionals when they can synthesize a thought in one sentence. Jeff, you broke your back on a run in 2023. What did lying flat on your back teach you about fulfillment that years of coaching couldn't?
Well, honestly, it taught me gratitude. Like, I never had so much gratitude as when I was lying on my back with a broken back for 6 months. And let me explain why. I always think that in some life, I'm a cat, right? Because I've avoided death. I'm coming up on 9 times, so I'm kind of scared that the next one,
Oh boy.
but there's been, whether mountain biking accidents, can I swear on this?
Yeah.
Doing stupid shit as a kid. There's been a lot of or a variety of instances in my life where I was hanging off a cliff at one point in the morning with nobody around, a bike between my legs, and waiting for somebody to find me and holding on to a branch. Like, stuff like that happens. So I'm out on a run, and this was Easter morning, 3 years ago, and just want to do a quick run before we got together for Easter with the family. I was about a mile and a half away from home, and my Spotify wasn't working. So I looked down at my phone just to fix it, and there was a little half-inch rise in the sidewalk. My foot hit it. I started falling a little bit, which is all fine, right? I can fall.
Yeah.
Except there was a stone wall right in front of me. So I essentially dove headfirst, the top of my head, straight into the stone wall. And I knew something was wrong. Like, I was just praying I wasn't paralyzed. I couldn't even pick up the phone. Thank God for Siri, because I could use Siri to call my wife.
Yeah.
And then, the ambulance, yada, yada, yada. I'm lying in bed, and I realize if my head were just a quarter inch up or to the right or to the left, I could have broken my neck. And that would have been all the difference in the world, right? And so I just had gratitude that, yeah, I broke my back, but I'm going to get over that, right? Fortunately, I broke it in a way that it will kind of heal. And I'm still here, and I have still a better life than, many others. I'm fortunate. I'm lucky. So that's what I learned with a broken back. A lot of gratitude.
Jeff, finish this sentence. Work-life balance is a lie, and what people actually need is...
To understand that you can't split work and life into 50-50, right?
Mm.
Can't do 50% life, 50% work. You got to be 100% in whichever side you're in. So when you're at work, you're focused on work. When you're at home with family or whoever, you got to be there, be present. And even if it's not as much time in one or the other, as long as you're present and listening and curious and caring, that's what balance is.
We're going to come back to your surplus life framework in the long form part. I can't wait to get there. Jeff, what's the one leadership behavior that is destroying people's fulfillment at work and nobody's talking about it?
The first thing in my mind is not caring and not empowering people. And that little thing uh, makes people feel like they're just a cog. Nobody wants to feel like a cog. And everybody wants to feel human, like they matter, like they have value. And people don't understand that enough.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait to unpack accountability, communication, and purpose at work, tying into the McKinsey research that shows employees who find purpose in their work are a lot more engaged, and most people don't. So I can't
100.
wait to get there. Okay, bonus lightning round. I was going to save this, but I just can't wait. I want to pull it up here.
Great.
Early in your career, you, the Jeff Matlow, worked closely with James Brown and other people in the music industry like Everclear, Black Eyed Peas, before you pivoted to entrepreneurship. What did the godfather of soul teach you about passion, performance, and showing up? This doesn't have to be quick. You can lean into
Yeah.
this one.
Well,
Give us some
listen, I,
stories.
I got enough James Brown stories, and God bless the guy, right? Like, super talented, but he became famous in spite of himself. The guy, I don't think he graduated. I don't think he was in school beyond sixth grade, maybe fifth grade. I forget. And he had to dance on the street to feed his family to get money. Uh, he he wasn't book smart. He was very street. Working with James Brown was a treat, an experience, and in every possible way. I mean, the guy is amazing. A lot of his music, by the way, I realize is just the way he talks. So whenever he'd call or I'd call him and he'd pick up the phone, he'd start the conversation by saying, "How do you feel?" And he wanted me
I
to say,
thought
"I
he'd
feel
say,
good."
Jeff, get up, Paul, get on up.
Right. Well, he wanted me to say, "I feel good," right? Because that's
Yeah.
the answer. But I wasn't going to play into that. And I think that's why he and I got along so well, because I didn't play to him like other people do. Like, I didn't kiss his butt like other people do.
Yeah.
Um, in fact, he always insists he calls people Mr. or Mrs. And
Mm.
wants people to call him Mr. Brown. And I'm like, no, I'm not even going to tell you my last name. You could call me Jeff. I'm calling you James. And we got along really well from that. So what did I learn? Going back to your question, what did I learn about passion, professionalism? Uh, he is not the easiest person to work with. And there's enough stories about this where if one of the musicians misses a note during a performance, he may penalize them, like charge them. If you're late to a rehearsal or something like that, like you have to be on the mark with the guy. And yeah, you can call that stern, strict, pain in the butt, whatever, but that's his passion and professionalism. And listen, Mike, it's like Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan, people come down on him because he was so competitive and demanded that competition from his people. Well, yeah, that's what we want from them because that's what makes them great. And so I learned from James that I got to believe in myself, right? Like the guy didn't get through elementary school, I don't think, but he believed in himself and created this thing, this movement around him without even a manager. And, he just guided his own career for the most part. And so, um, I had respect for him before as a musician. Uh, Having worked with him for years, I have a ton of respect for him as uh, someone who's passionate about what they do and their ability to go for it no matter what.
Hey, everyone. Quick 10-second ask from you. If you're digging the show and you're watching on YouTube, please give it a thumbs up and comment your favorite part. If you're listening on Spotify, please give this show a 5-star rating. On iTunes, please leave a quick review. If you're listening on Substack, please subscribe and join the comments. You may want to subscribe in a few different places. For example, YouTube, you get all of our short content, 60-second to 90-second clips, our segments where we segment out 1 to 6 minute different segments of each episode. And then if you subscribe on the Substack, I summarize the episode in a newsletter. You can read it in a couple minutes. And then a couple days after the episode, I put out a self-reflection guide to help you personalize the content to your life. Thank you so much for supporting the show. Please share it with a friend. Where do you think his, and now I'm just curious, listening to my show notes, where did that sternness come from? Was he always kind of type A like that? Or did that emerge as his business and band grew in popularity?
Well, I think it was always there. Again, he was dancing on the street for pennies to help feed his family as a young kid. And people realized, hey, he's pretty good at dancing. He's getting money. Let's keep doing this. And that created, self-empowerment there. He knew what he was good at an early age, and it kept growing and growing even through his teen years. And so he was, I think all the time throughout his life, it was about his way. And the more he became popular, the more culture started moving towards him. It empowers him more. And yeah, there's ego. We all have ego, but his worked, right? I mean, he changed the world with his music and what he meant to society.
Was he trying to fit in, or do you think people were naturally attracted to him, his passion, his spark? Like, was he being fake to connect to the culture, or was the culture attracted to who he was, do you think?
Of all the words I could call him, fake is not one of them I'd ever use. So I think the culture was attracted to him. He was attracted to the culture. I mean, with the civil rights movement, right? And he was
Yeah.
in the center of it. And yes, he's very talented, but it was also the right place, the right time, the right person saying the right words, and with the right music, right? And the dude can do a split
Yeah.
same time. So
Nothing like a message delivered with the splits.
I know, right? If you can do a split, it's like if you have a British accent or can do a split, all of a sudden people put you a little higher up in the ranking.
Right on. What do you
Yeah.
think the number one thing is? If I was talking to James right now, Mr. Brown, what would he say is the number one thing you gave him?
Probably somewhere around authenticity and honesty, pushback. When you're at his level, uh, there's a lot of yes people, and there's a lot of hangers on, and that's not who I am. Like, we're all human. Nobody's better than anybody else.
Yep.
And I have friends who are billionaires. I have friends who are heads of large companies. I have friends who are drug addicts, who are prostitutes. And honestly, the ones who have been through the shit before have more honesty and authenticity than the ones who have a lot of material stuff. And I like I like hanging out with the people who are more honest and authentic than the ones who just have a lot of stuff, because we're all like, nobody's different. You're all going to be born, going to die. You breathe the same air. And so That's what I brought to the relationship with him too. And I think that's why I was the only one he wanted to talk to in the company. And it was a good time. Plus good stories. I'll give you one little short one is we were in it's time for contract negotiations again. And so the president of the company, we were having the meeting in the president's office, and James was supposed to be there, and there were 3 or 4 of us that were going to be there. And so I walk in the office, and there's a guy sitting in a chair, and at first I'm like, "Oh, well, who is it?" And I look over, and it's Reverend Al Sharpton. And James decided to bring Reverend Al to help him with negotiations.
Stop.
Yeah.
Stop.
So I was there with James and Al and, our crew.
How good is the Reverend at negotiating? Did he bring it hard to the table?
He did not. It was more a friendly conversation than anything. I'm not sure we got anything accomplished in that meeting that I remember, but
Yeah.
it was a good story, right?
How crazy to look over and be like, what the? I
Yeah.
recognize you.
Yeah.
But out of context, sometimes your brain doesn't connect those dots quick enough.
Right. It's like a double take of, you look a lot like a guy I see on TV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's one thing you said, I'll hook into, Jeff. I worked with a lot of America's wealthiest families for a few years. And the biggest takeaway I got from that experience is that all these people are people. They've got problems just like me. They've got family dysfunction just like me. They have high highs and low lows. They've got troughs and valleys. And it taught me maybe the most important lesson of life is that money does not make you happy. Because these people, they were not all happy. And in fact, maybe the money and the material stuff made it harder to achieve happiness and true peace and fulfillment. Have you found that in your work?
Yeah, absolutely. So 2 things about that. One thing my father has always said, which has always stuck to me, is money can't make you happy, but if you're happy, it sure can make you happier. And
Oof.
so I think about that all the time. And listen, I'm want for nothing, and not because I have a ton of money to do it. It's because I don't really need anything. Like, I'm happy with what I am. Every time my birthday comes around and people ask what I want, I'm like, I don't know, new socks. Uh,
Yeah.
so, so there's that. Uh, Secondly, I think a lot about celebrities, like the high level celebrities or A list, B list, and um, some of the people I know where you go out with them and they're wearing their hat and their glasses and still they're stopped every 2 minutes. Somebody wants a
Yep.
photo, somebody wants to be their friend. And the more people know you, the less you have to get to know people, right? Think of Taylor Swift. She can't go outside without being hounded. So how do you trust people when there's so many who just want you for your money or put you on a pedestal for your money? And I feel like um, again, money's not bad. I like money. I'm not driven. It's not my primary driver. But I will accept it.
Me
However,
too.
I, I wouldn't want to be, uh, I wouldn't want to be celebrity famous in terms of my face out there. Fine with my name out there. If I'm being recognized, I'd love to be recognized for what I do, but I don't want to be a movie star. That just seems like hell.
Uh, truly agree. I can't agree more.
Yeah.
And I think if people thought about it, it seems so appealing until you actually think about the prison they live in. And it sounds like, man, I would not want to be in that golden prison.
Yeah. Yeah. You're stuck there all alone with a lot of money.
Let's go back to my first lightning round question, Jeff, about most people have no idea what actually fulfills them. You've you've done a lot of work on self-limiting stories and blind spots people have. You write that it's about how you write about how it's hard to be the person you want to be when the world forces you to be different. Can you just talk about that?
Yeah. We all want to adapt in some way, right? I will go back to when I was in my 20s, probably coming out of my teens, but let's say entering the workforce for the first time, I wanted everybody to like me, right? And
Yeah.
so I prided myself on being a chameleon, a personality chameleon. I could be like anybody who I was around. I can find our connection and get them to think I was cool, like I was nice, like I was, worthwhile hanging out with. Um, and I prided myself on that. Like I was very conscious that I was doing that and that's what I wanted. And then honestly, this triggered uh, some realization as I rose up in my career, because as you become more of a leader and more mature, you realize you can't actually have everybody like you. So my first company was a record company. And I was working at other record companies, some big labels, and then I decided to start my own record label. And inevitably, people are not going to like me. They're not going to like my music. They're not going to like what I do. And that's when I realized, like, I'm not going to win by having everybody like me. I'm not going to win by trying to conform to society the way I
Yeah.
think society is. And that changed everything for me. So then, fast forward, a couple decades,
Why did that change everything for you?
because I stopped uh, valuing myself through the eyes of other people and really learning to accept who I am, the uh, the pros and cons, and instead of needing approval from somebody else, needing somebody else to like me, for me to think that I was good enough, and that that's what changed everything, right? Um,
Yeah. Idiosyncrasies and all, and maybe even more because of your idiosyncrasies. Is that
com-
fair?
completely, yeah, and yeah, I'm all about learning about who I am, because the more I know about who I am, the more I know about other people. And in fact, the only reason I write the newsletter, if I didn't write my newsletter, I'd probably have no idea who I am. I every newsletter I write, it's like my hand does its own thing, and when I'm done, I'm like, "Holy shit, that sounds a lot like me." And
Yeah.
so that continuous education and self awareness, I think, first of all, it's really important to me, but it allows people to, if you do it, to understand who you are and be yourself in a society that everybody's trying to be like, or a lot of people are trying to conform to others or conform to the way their group is, or what have you, the company is. Um, and individuality, especially as we move towards a more AI driven society, like individuality is critical. Being yourself and understanding yourself to stand out uh, in a world that might be just coded is everything.
Yeah. And Jeff, I mean, most people have to work because they can't not work because they need an income, but also they don't want for anything. Like there's no material need that they have that keeps them from achieving happiness. And I think a lot of people find themselves asking, how do I know what I want in life? Because they're going to work, they're making money, they're raising a family, they're doing whatever. And so, how do you coach someone up to discover what they actually want in life? How does a person go about identifying that?
What I do with people is first, it's basic. It's like, what do you like doing? What do you wish you were? Um, I sometimes ask people, think back of when you were a kid, 8, 9, maybe 7 years old. What did you want to be then? And the answer actually tells a lot about who they are and what they value. So let's say somebody says, I want to be a fireman or a policeman. They
Yeah.
probably value helping other people in some way, right? And that probably doesn't go away. Somebody wants to be a ballerina or a movie star. There's probably something about them that they want acknowledgement, or to be lifted up and recognized. And so, the first step is what fills your bucket. And, that's one way I do it. There are a variety of others. The other, it's next is, if you could do anything, what would you do? And the answer could be, I'd sail around the world. Okay. Why would you do that? Well, to feel free. I don't know. What makes you feel free? And you dig in deeper. There's, have you heard of the 5 whys?
No.
So this guy in Japan, his last name was Toyota. Familiar name. Turns out he
I
had
think I drive one of his
yeah.
cars.
Well, turns out he had a son that started a car company, but the father didn't. The father was in a manufacturing plant of something or other, and he was trying to figure out what why problems happened. Like, right, something's going down, the belt there, and it gets to the end, and there's a bolt missing. It falls apart. Okay, so why is the bolt missing? Somebody says, well, Joe over there forgot to put the bolt in. And so you go and you reprimand Joe. You realized if you ask why 5 times, then you actually get to the problem. So why is the bolt?
Whoa.
Because of Joe. Why did Joe miss it? Joe wasn't paying attention. Why wasn't Joe paying attention? Yeah, actually, because there's something else next to him that was broken and he was trying to fix it. Oh, so if we fix that, then we're not going to have any bolts missing. Great. Let's fix the other problem. And then everything's resolved. And so the 5 whys are actually a really good technique. I find it usually only takes 3 or 4, but to understand the real reason behind anything. And that could be like, why are you doing this podcast? And I'll get you on the couch and we can therapize you later. But, ask yourself 4 or 5 times, why, and you find out the answer.
I love that. Also, because sometimes it's a cascading outcome where if you fix something 3 whys back, you don't have to fix the other 2 whys. Those iron themselves out automatically if you go back to the foundational problem.
Right. And listen, this is the heart of what I do. And I'm mostly contacted by companies or leaders, and they tell me, we've got a problem with our team isn't aligned, or we got a communication problem, or nobody's accountable. And can you help us fix that? Yeah, I can help you fix it. I come in, what I know is those aren't the problem. They're just the symptom. And so the goal is to figure out the problem. And I will tell you, spoiler alert, the problem is leadership, but the symptom is all those other things. You don't fix accountability by just telling people, do the work and I won't beat you, right? Like there's an environment that's been created that supports them not being accountable. So how do you change that environment in order to encourage and support accountability?
And then all the problems work themselves out automatically if you find the right foundational piece. And I'm sure in a setting with hundreds of people or thousands of people, it's very complex. So it's not one thing.
Right.
Or is it?
Dive down the rabbit hole with me for a second here, because there are actually 3 elements of this, and it's why people try to make change and it doesn't work or it doesn't last. In fact, I have an article coming out soon about atomic habits and why it's a lie. And
oh, baby.
Right.
Which is, I can't wait to read it because I love Atomic Habits. And so I can't wait to see it. Where do I find that, Jeff?
The best
quick little plug here.
thebestleadershipnewsletter.com. My newsletter is the best leadership newsletter ever. And it may be, it may not be, but if it does become the best leadership newsletter, I already have the URL in the name. So
I love that. But go on, your 3 things.
Yeah. So listen, if you bring in a coach, right? The coach is going to try to look at your behavior and fix your behavior, and the changes won't last. You bring in a consultant, the consultant is trying to change your systems, but the systems aren't going to work for you. It's not going to last. You go to a therapist, they'll work on your identity, And you'll learn a lot of stuff, but it's not going to change how you work. Because if you just try to change your behavior, your systems, or your identity alone, it doesn't address the other two. And so the way to get lasting change, and this is what I do and why we get immediate and lasting change, is address all three things at once, right? So who are you? What's your identity? Why are you doing that? What systems have you put in place to support what you're doing, the patterns that you have? And then what behaviors are you doing to create those systems, to create that environment? And so let's understand where, what triggers, what patterns worked for you before that aren't working for you now. For instance, very popular one, avoiding conflict. Well, avoiding
Yeah.
conflict worked for you early on, but as you rise in leadership, it works against you. You get a short dopamine hit because you don't have to have that conversation you don't want. But then people are frustrated because there's no guidelines, there's no barriers, there's no accountability. And then it creates this environment where toxic behavior becomes more toxic. You don't address it, which supports more toxic behavior. And it becomes what I call the pattern environment loop, right? Your patterns create the environment, which strengthens your patterns, which creates the environment. And what needs to be done is to understand your triggers. So what makes you fear that conversation? What happens that triggers you that you fear conflict? And instead of then going to your behavior, which is backing out, we interrupt that and do something else. Something small, something really small that everybody can do. And in the conflict one, it's usually really easy. All I say is, listen, when you feel yourself triggered, instead of backing out, ask a question. And the question, there's only a few you can ask. Like, what do you feel? Why do you feel that way? Can you tell me more about that? I'm not sure I understand. I'm feeling a little defensive. Can you explain it a little better to me? You just ask a question and then you shut up. And it suddenly breaks that pattern. And you do that a few times. You actually see change in one conversation. That's the thing that I usually, most of the people I work with, we can affect change in one conversation or less, half a conversation. And then they understand the patterns. Once you see how it breaks, then you can change for good. Right.
Fulfillment project, adding value to everyone's life. Everyone, I just saved you 10, 20, 50, $100,000 with Jeff. After this episode, get a blank sheet of paper, 5 whys, follow the framework he just structured. Bada bing. This is amazing. Jeff, you're ripping it, man. I want to dig in now. One of the highest searches on Google that I looked up was morning routines of successful people. It's perennially one of the top productivity topics on the internet because people want to know how to wake up. What do I do in the morning? Everyone that seems successful seems to have a really good morning routine. We talked in the lightning round, 8 a.m. You said people can plan their day. Can you extrapolate on morning routines and how you can help the audience enhance their morning routine?
Yes, I can. So let me talk about my routine first. So I used to be the night guy, right? Like I was in the music business. I'd go out to see bands every night, and then um, I try to sleep in the morning. But the fact is, I'm also a runner and triathlete, so I will get up early and exercise.
Yeah.
Um, and I slowly became a morning person. And there's a quote that I always think of from somebody who you really need to know and whose name I can't remember, but I'll tell you later. The quote is, I like to get everything done before 7 in the morning because after 7 o'clock, it feels less like getting stuff done and more like just putting up with things. And so for me,
Ooh.
I wake up. I also heard somebody, I forget, maybe it was Anderson Cooper, some newscaster. They asked, it was on a podcast and asked, how did you write your book? You're so busy. And the answer was, everybody can find 15 minutes a day to write a book. And I'm like, Screw you. What do you mean you wrote a book 15 minutes a day? And
Yeah.
so I wake up early and the first thing I do is I write. I wake up, I have some water, and I'm actually writing my book in 15 minutes a day. And then what I do is I plan my day. So you have to be really purposeful because it is so easy when you get to that point of the day where you're just putting up with stuff, right? It's
Yeah.
so easy to have the blinders on and just be putting out fires or doing the little things and forget to lift your head up and see tomorrow. Everybody's so stuck in
Mm.
today, they lose sight of tomorrow. And listen, today is important. You do 70% today, but you got to do that. You got to force yourself to think, what is important to me? What do I want to be? Who do I want to be? Where do I want to go? And what am I going to do to get there? And so the morning routine that I think is the most important is thinking about that. So what I do, call me crazy, but at the beginning of every year, I don't do, I'm not joining a gym every year, but I plan my goals for the year, what I want to do, both business, financial, health, exercise, relationships, a variety of categories. Where do I want to be? What type of person do I want to be at the end? And then I break those down by month, the ones that can be broken down by month of, all right, I want to finish my book. So that means I need to do X words a month and blah, 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 blah. And then I have those goals and I try to break them down by week and make sure that I have at least one thing that drives me forward every day, even if it's 10 minutes, 15 minutes, that those little steps will get me to the goal. Now, we're in the world of AI, right? And I love me some technology. And
Oh
so I've
yeah.
been building a product for me, which turns out a lot of people seem to want now, uh, which looks at my yearly goals, breaks them down by month, week, etc. Looks at my task list every day of what I need, looks at my calendar of my availability, and not only creates the most important tasks for me to get done that day, but then challenges me on strategy and what,
Yo.
right? Right? Like, and here's the other part of it that calendars and to-do lists don't do, and this goes back to your question before, is a to-do list and to-do list systems assume you know what needs to be done. It assumes you're 100% right of the things that you need to get done in order to reach your goals. You're not, right? Nobody is. And so to-do lists don't challenge you. That's what I'm bringing something. My app is every week you have a strategy meeting. Every week you have a priority meeting. And what we can now do with AI is say, listen, here's my sales goal, and here's what I'm doing for my sales goal, which you can see from my tasks. And it can now come back and say, that's not the tactic that works these days. Here are the tactics that actually work, and maybe we should try these for the next week or two. And
So that's what you mean when you say you have it challenge you on strategy, because it
right,
can see what your plan is and it can challenge what you're doing versus what it thinks you ought to be doing.
right, completely. And so for me, the key thing, what it all comes down to get to your question, um, is planning. Like, if you want to get somewhere, if you want to get from here to there, you need a map to figure out. You first need to know what there is, and then you need a map of the general direction to get there. And I use this actually a lot in companies and with leaders of my first question is, where do you want to be? What do you want to do? Where do you want to go? What do you want your life to be like? And we've got to define what there is because we can't get you there unless we know what the top of the mountain is. And a lot of people don't think about that. And so it goes to, I think, what your first lightning round question was, um, which I don't remember the exact wording, but about fulfillment.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people don't know where their there is, right? They're just going through the day. And maybe they think, I want a promotion. I want to be a VP of a company. Okay, why? Like, what are you going to do? What value will that bring you? How will that make you feel? And then let's figure out how to get you there. They just think it's going to magically happen. It's not. That's the difference.
One thing that's made a huge impact for me, Jeff, along these lines is I asked those why questions years ago. Like, what do I actually want? Why do I want to succeed? Why do I want blah blah blah? Because I want time. I want space. And then I thought, well, I can do that. So I started injecting blank areas of space into my day, specifically my morning. I cherish breakfast with my boys and my wife. And while I'm cooking the eggs and the bacon, I say, boys, no one's richer than us today. No one's richer than us because the most valuable thing in the world is time. And we have this time together and we're just wasting it like the wealthiest, filthiest people in the world. Like we're just spending time together over eggs. No rush, just peace and time. And I think you're getting at that. If people ask why enough, people are focused on very micro tasks or short term, couple months, maybe a couple years. But like, what's it all for in the end? And can we start injecting some of that into our life today? Like, why wait 30 years for retirement to have time? Why not do it today in little ways? Maybe it's not the big ways we want, but in little ways. Am I
Right.
crazy?
Oh, you're not crazy. Well, I hope not, because I'm very much like you. So if you are crazy, I am too. It's fine. I've been called worse, but I do the same exact thing. So I block 12 to 1:30 off my calendar every day of the week, because I have to exercise during that time and then
Yeah.
have some food, because I know that if I don't exercise, my afternoon is shot. There's nothing happening in the afternoon, right?
Yep.
It lets me think. It lets me think about tomorrow instead of today. Get me out of the mess. I block off Fridays, and I never miss uh, any one of my daughter's athletic games or plays. Sitting with her as she gets ready in the morning, like that time is essentially all we got at the end. So I 100% agree with you. If you don't make time for it now, it's not coming later.
You dropped a quote from your father earlier, so I'll drop one of my father's favorite quotes, or at least my favorite quote from my father. When you're on your deathbed, you will not think about the things you had or the things you did. You'll think about the relationships you had and how they were meaningful to you, and you'll regret the relationships you didn't spend enough time on.
100%, 100%. And I am blessed with a lot of close friends. And it is, I learned from a friend of mine in high school. I learned this from him. He keeps in touch with everybody, right? And in fact, a couple of my friends. And I realized how important that is. And it doesn't mean like you have to get together with people all the time. Doesn't even mean you have an hour conversation. Just a text. Hey, I've been thinking about you. Hope you're good.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. Like those little things create value for yourself, for other people. And at the end of the day, I love the fact that I have so many close friends, and that is my wealth, right? My wealth is my friends around me.
Take me to the surplus life framework. Talk us through that.
A surplus life, we're, let me bring this back. We are all so mired in the day to day. And it's really
Yeah.
easy, especially with our phones, to get lost in the ADHD of life, right? Like
Oh, yeah.
we're moving from one place to another. You were just talking about time with your kids. And I feel like we're at a deficit. In fact, we're in a loneliness epidemic right now. I I put an article about this a couple weeks ago, but you can hear about it in a variety of other places. We're all, since COVID, we're not in offices anymore. We're not going out to dinner as much anymore, to lunch. In fact, the lunch, the work lunch is gone. And that was really, really important for humanity and culture to be able to just go to people and say, hey, you want to go grab lunch together? And it was there where you built connection with each other. And you weren't necessarily talking about work, you were talking about life. And it getting out of the day to day, out of, again, the ADHD of these days of life, um, leads to what could be the surplus life in different areas. So a surplus life means more kindness, more friendships, more uh, listening, more caring, and this can be done in a variety of ways. So for me, let's go back to we both have kids. We have kids who are young enough to be in our homes. Like a surplus life, emotional surplus is me being there and actively listening to my child, me telling my child every day that I love her. Whether she says it back or not, it doesn't matter. The point is, I am giving an emotional surplus to her. So to my friends, same. I give a friendship surplus. I will buy my friends gifts, even small things, just because, right? Because I appreciate them, because I like them, because they are my wealth, as I said before. Financial surplus, you don't need to have a lot of money for financial surplus. In fact, my daughter and I go out to breakfast every Sunday morning. We go to the same Greasy Spoon Diner. We sit in the
Oh,
same table. We order the same thing every week.
yeah.
And she orders more than she can eat every week. And part of our going out to breakfast is taking her leftovers, going to find somebody homeless and giving them the food. And that is financial surplus, right? It is giving something that we have to somebody who doesn't have it. Another thing that, not a lot of people know this, but since it's just you and me here, just keep it on the down low. So I love me the crafts because I always have to do things with my hands.
Yeah.
And so I do origami every now and then, some stuff. And what I started doing when my daughter was like 2 or 3 is we'd take some origami designs that I did and we'd go to the supermarket and we'd hide them behind food so people get surprised of like, oh, look at this thing that I found. And
Yeah.
then we'd walk down the street and she'd hand it to kids. Like, here's a little gift. So then one Christmas, I made 100 origami angels and we decided to go to the children's hospital and just give
Oh
origami
my gosh.
to people. And so when I talk about a surplus life, I think about it could be as simple as saying hi to somebody at the cashier at the supermarket, right? And being kind. How are you? How is your day? To doing something that takes more or is greater. And I feel like it's not hard to do, but it changes your life. If you focus on how can I do more? How can I have a surplus of these behaviors?
Incredible. And a lot of people say, well, once I get that, I'll have time for origami. Once I achieve this, and it's like, don't wait.
Right,
Don't wait.
right. Yeah, it doesn't take much. Doesn't take much to be caring and to actually give without the expectation of return.
You've said procrastination isn't real. It's fear in disguise. What are you talking about? What do you mean there, Jeff?
Yeah, if you look at your to-do list and that those items that keep going from day to day, but they're always on your to-do list for that day and they never get done, that's not lack of time. That's fear for one reason or another. You either scared of what the ending would be like, you're scared of how to start it, you're scared of what the result could be. There's some sort of fear attached to that.
Yeah.
And procrastination, I don't believe in procrastination. I believe in prioritization. And
Ooh.
there's another quote that I like, which is everything got easier the moment I realized there's exactly enough time in life to do all the things that are important to me. And, the meaning of that is I have choice. I have choice of what I want to do, and whatever I'm doing is the most important thing to me. Being on this podcast and talking to you is the single most important thing for me right now because I choose to do it. And so procrastination is choosing something else instead of the thing you fear doing. So when it becomes prioritization, hey, what's your priority? My priority is that thing over there that I haven't done for a month. Okay. How are you going to turn that into a priority? How are you going to show that that's a priority? Why is it a priority, and what can you do to get there? And part of that is overcoming your fear of whatever it is, the fear of not doing the other thing that you're doing, whatever it is. But yeah, those are my feelings about procrastination. If I could go on a tangent here for a second, because I have
Let it
similar
rip, Jeff. Go, baby.
I have similar feelings about open door policies. I think open door policies are complete bullshit because think about it, right? Like the boss, the leader says, I have an open door policy. Anybody can come to me anytime you want.
This is a hot take. Oh my gosh, we might go viral on this. Keep
Right?
going. I've never heard anyone say something so scandalous.
Well, yeah, the premise of it is the person who has less power needs to go to the person that can fire them and tell them the things that they're doing wrong or the things that they've done that have caused all these other things to do wrong. Like, who's going to do that? Nobody is. An open door policy, what leaders don't understand about open door policies, and this is the part that's mind blowing. You may not know this, but doors actually go both ways, right? You can walk in it and you can walk out it. And so when I say an open door, yeah, an open door policy, great. It's open. Get your butt out the door and start talking to your people. And don't say simple questions like, how are you doing? Because everybody is fine. I can tell that's all they're going to say. Questions, more meaningful questions. What can we do to make this environment better? What's one thing I can do or what's one thing I can stop doing that would make people happier? Give something that's not a yes or no or a fine or how's the weather? And it's tough to do that. It's really tough for a lot of leaders. But once you do it, you see the change immediately. And so whenever somebody says, I have an open door policy or I'm a people person, I'm like, well, we're all people. And secondly, if you have an open door policy, walk out.
I throw myself at criticism because I'm a big believer that other people can see me a lot more clearly than I can see myself. When I look in the mirror, I see the most beautiful, perfect person in the world. And shockingly, that's not the way most people see me or anybody sees me. But I had an issue, Jeff, because a couple of years ago, I tried with my team to say, hey, I'm going to give you a couple of days to think about it. And I'm going to meet with you one-on-one. I want you to tell me the thing you think I should change. Be critical of me. And shockingly, no one had anything to say. And you're just a great boss. You're just this and that. You do everything wonderful. So I didn't get the output I was hoping for. And I really actually genuinely wanted it because I believe this authentically. So I changed my prompt to talk amongst each other on the team, called the team throughout the week. And I want you to tell me something that someone else is saying, and it's anonymous. Don't tell me who said it, but tell me what someone else, and all of a sudden the door opened wide open. Well, these people think you could do this a little differently or that. And it was amazing it's almost like an avatar. I gave my team an avatar to respond through that protected themselves. And they benefited from it because my behavior and personality changed in a positive way, I think. And therefore, it made their lives better.
Yeah, I think, first of all, some great things you just said there. Taking people's responsibility out of it, like personal responsibility, having them be able to answer, what do other people think that I should change versus what do you think I should change, right? There's a very big difference, and you'll get a more honest answer from the other side, from the other people. What I tend to do with leaders or advise them is a simple stop, start, continue exercise, right? So sometimes, let's say it's one-on-one. You tell your person, listen, what I'd like you to do is make a list of the things you think I should stop doing, you think things I should start doing, and things I should continue doing. And then I'm going to do the same thing for you. And then we're going to get together and we're going to talk about it. And I really want to know your answers. Sometimes we have a group do it for the boss. And I always recommend leaders do this at least once a year, if not twice a year, because stop, start, continue is a framework that people are more likely to be honest with instead of just give me one thing. And then
An open prompt. Yeah. Start, stop, continue. I love that.
correct. And you want at least 3 things in each because the first 2 are always gimmies. You got to actually think harder for the third one. And so
Yeah.
what I always say to people is, all right, give me 3 things that we can change, 3 or 4 things, because it's 3 or 4 that I really want to know. 1 or 2 I probably know already. 3 or
Yep.
4 are the ones that are going to make me think.
All right. I'm landing this plane, Jeff. We're coming home. You talk about the 6 types of work addiction. You've got a whole episode on your podcast I'd recommend to my audience to check out if this is resonating with you. But it's about work addictions, and you argue that they're real and they're destroying productivity, leadership, and personal sanity. Take the audience through that. What do you mean? Because I think this is so real.
There are 6 types of addictions in the workplace. I'll run through them quickly with you, and everybody can figure out who they are, right? There's the chaos addict. So it's the person who has to stir things up because they want chaos. They want to be the person that solves problems, right? And a lot of people, when I go through workshops with folks, a lot of people don't recognize that they're that, or it's in the back of their head. And then when we bring it out, they're like, "Oh yeah, that's what I do. I cause problems.
Mm-hmm.
I like solving problems, and I can't solve problems if everything's not screwed up."
Yeah.
Right? There's the overcommitment addict. Right? I live this one. Right? Like the one who says yes to everything, and you say yes to so many things because you want to help people that you're so busy you can't help anyone. Right? And so the other is the perfection addict. And the one who needs everything to be perfect is the micromanager. And a lot of people don't know that they're a micromanager because the micromanager historically is the person who stands over your shoulder and watches what you do. But that's not a micromanager. When I'm with groups of people, what I'll say to them is everybody who's a micromanager, raise your hand. And nobody raises their hand. Maybe 1 or 2 people did.
Yeah.
And then I say, everybody who has a tough time delegating, who know you can delegate more, raise your hand. And 90% of the people raise their hands. I'm like, spoiler alert, you're a micromanager. Because that's what micromanaging is. It is holding on to stuff because you feel you are the only one that can get it right. So that's the perfection addict.
Jeff, before you go through the rest of this list, I'm dying because you asked the audience to figure out which one they are. And I'm listening for myself, like, okay, which one of these am I? But I'm also, every time you say something, I'm picturing someone I work with or multiple people I work with that are fitting into these buckets. I can only imagine the audience is doing the same. Like people are flashing into your head right now.
Completely. Like, I hope everybody is writing these down because you can write the names of all the people you work with that fit in this. And
Yeah.
the question is, how many of these will your name be under as well? The inbox addict is almost all of us, where you're just tied to the inbox. Once an email comes in, you have to respond to them. The control addict is the one who really needs to be in control of everything. And again, this is another addiction type that is micromanagement in disguise. And then there's the workaholic addict, right? Which is the standard, it's the standard work addiction that we think of when we think of work addiction. But they're the ones that feel like the 14-hour day is a badge of honor. And
Yeah.
they're proud that they are juggling 18 things. They did 70 hours of work this week. They worked all weekend, and aren't they great? That's wrong. Like, that is an addiction too. And people have to recognize that. And, other countries are creating the laws in Portugal, Italy, Australia, is it right to work? I forget the name of the law. You may know this, but you're not allowed to contact people after work hours. It's against the law to contact people after work hours to ask them to do work. And it'll never happen in the US, but at least other countries are recognizing the importance of that and trying to get away from the workaholic addict.
Why do these addictions kill productivity? A lot of them sound like they might enhance productivity.
Oh no, none of them are good, because they're all either taking it apart from the team. Like you need teamwork for productivity. You need motivation. You need empowerment. You need people excited. You need purpose, right? People need purpose. And if you're taking over their work, if you're priding yourself on doing more than somebody else, like you are making other people feel bad. You're putting others down. You're making them feel less than, or that their ideas don't matter, their opinions don't matter. And that's what these addictions do is they tear other people down, and you don't realize that because they're building you up. They're making you filling whatever
Mm,
need you have in your life.
wow. Jeff, I'm creating space now. You get the last word. What did I miss? What didn't I get to talk to you about that you're dying to tell the audience?
Well, listen, we all have patterns in our life. And this is what I really focus on is for myself and others. Is we have patterns that are unconscious. I call it the unconscious operating system. And everything you do, every choice you make, every decision is driven by that unconscious operating system. And when you're sitting in the pickle jar there, you can't read the label. And so you need somebody from the outside, whether it's a spouse, a significant other, a friend, whatever, a coach, whatever it is, to help you understand what's in your blind spot. And for me, that is fulfillment. Circling back to how we started this, like to find out what fulfills you, you need to find out what's holding you back. And the things that are holding you back are usually things you don't notice. 99 times out of 100, you have no clue that you're doing it or you've got that pattern there. And so, um, my value,
Yes.
what fills my bucket, what makes me so happy and proud of what I do is when I see these leaders I work with, these really smart, really driven, really successful leaders, all of a sudden get an awareness of, whoa, I didn't realize I was doing that. And it unlocks a world for people. So that's, that's the only thing I would leave with.
Jeff, if people want to know more, you've hit on a lot of topics and you extrapolate all this in your podcast, your newsletter. Where can people find you?
Go to thebestleadershipcompany.com. Again, I don't know for the best leadership company, but at least if we become it, I have the URL. So thebestleadershipcompany.com, and you can see my newsletter there, my podcast. You can learn a lot more about how I think and this process. And listen, I love meeting new people. Anybody who emails me, I always look at it and respond. So I am more than open. You can find me on the socials too, but anywhere. Start with my website and find me from there. One thing I have to tell you, Andy, and I have to this has been sitting with me. I said I love your podcast in the beginning. A lot of people may say that in the beginning of podcasts. I mean it. Like this podcast has become one of my favorites, and let me tell you why. First of all, you ask tough questions, you ask good questions. Almost every person I've heard, every person you've interviewed has said the same thing of, wow, you ask really good questions, and you do. So that's one thing. More importantly, what you do with the podcast is you bring such a variety of guests from all different types of ideas, all different concepts, and you do it effectively. Like every single episode is fascinating. Things I wouldn't listen to normally at all, but now I know because they're on this podcast, I'm going to listen to it. The one on purpose, like Vic, I think his name is.
Yeah. Dr. Vic
Whoa.
Strecker.
Like, I still talk about that one, and I think about that podcast a lot. Um, I'm listening to, there's the one on health and longevity, which was a wonderful trip. It's just, I
Right
really
up
appreciate,
your alley too. Yeah.
yes, I really appreciate what you're doing. I am honored to be on this podcast and be talking to you. So thank you
Oh
for what
my
you do.
gosh. It's so fun just to give some love back, Jeff, to listen to a podcast. I listen to your podcast, and then to have you on is like a gift. It's crazy to have Jeff on Fulfillment Project. It's wild because I've listened to so much of your stuff, and to bring that into the context of Fulfillment Project is so cool. Thank you so much for coming today. What a treat. Can't wait to see, Jeff, what you put out next. I can't wait for your book. When's pre-order going up for that puppy?
Later this year. So I'm in editing stage now, and we'll get it up. So follow me, get on the newsletter, and you'll learn.
Awesome. Can't wait for it. See you, Jeff.
See you later.
Hey, everyone. Quick 10-second ask from you. If you're digging the show and you're watching on YouTube, please give it a thumbs up and comment your favorite part. If you're listening on Spotify, please give this show a 5-star rating. On iTunes, please leave a quick review. If you're listening on Substack, please subscribe and join the comments. You may want to subscribe in a few different places. For example, YouTube, you get all of our short content, 60-second to 90-second clips, our segments where we segment out 1 to 6 minute different segments of each episode. And then if you subscribe on the Substack, I summarize the episode in a newsletter. You can read it in a couple minutes. And then a couple days after the episode, I put out a self-reflection guide to help you personalize the content to your life. Thank you so much for supporting the show. Please share it with a friend.